Okay, it looks like we're live. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, wherever you may be. Uh, Billy is here, as you can see. There he is. Nice to see everyone back here. Haven't been on for a while. We've got Alan Mersick, Eugene from the USSA. We've got Marek Kalenda, Elias Jones, Urban Sombrero, Mark 1776. Olivier Leroy is here. Good morning from Paris. He's in France. He says refiners are on strike. We have no gasoline since 2 weeks. Yeah, I saw that in the news. I think it's going to get pretty bad here in the UK as well in terms of general strikes. Yeah, it's not going to be something just in France. We got Scroopy Noopers, James Bond, BP, Belly Dance Radio, Urban Sombrero, Contrarian Views, High Contrarian Views, Belly Dance Radio, Nasser Siaf or Siaf, BP, Pablo Pino, Ben is here, Mickey, loads of you showing up, Jillian B, Rational Mind, Greg Capella from Las Vegas, Ricardo Kalov, my girlfriend loves your humor. Thank you. Christina Samuelson, glad to see everyone back too. Pad is back. Nice to see Pad, longtime follower. Andrew Bevan from South Wales. Pets for Billy from Alaska, from John Norris. There he is. There's Billy. Right. Oh, let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, there he is. Billy. Tradwife is from Kent in the UK. I'm in Kent as well. London, but Kent. Blast from the Past, Rick Enfed, loads of you, which is good. Gerolgi asks, how bad is it in England now? Here in Norway, it's not bad, just a little more expensive. To be honest, I haven't felt it that much. I actually, a month or two ago, I got a credit from British Gas because we were paying, a fixed deal, and we didn't use as much. And recently, I think everyone must have gotten £66 from British Gas. That's going to come over, I think, 6 months. The next 6 months, you're going to get £66 every month. Yeah, I know it comes from us, really, the taxpayer. But so far, things are okay. I guess our fixed costs are very, my wife and I have limited it as much as possible. As I said, we've, eliminated all debt except for our new car that we got a couple of months ago, which we put on a lease, but we have the choice to pay it off. And it isn't that much, actually. So things are okay so far, but I think for people who have big mortgages, they're going to have a shock coming up because interest rates are rising very quickly. BB King from Kentucky, Rooster from Nebraska, Steve Goodwin. Nice to see you back too, Steve. Arthur Quinn, Eric Milner from Oshawa, Ontario. Yeah, the cold's gone away. I'm still not 100%, but I did buy something in Madeira with for cold. It's just like to take away the symptom, and I drank that a few times with water. is some kind of ibuprofen with vitamin C. But I usually try to rest and just do it naturally. That's the way I usually do it. Yeah, Billy is sleeping. Jack Robert from West London. Yeah, I was looking at some properties online. Not that I want to sell and move, but like in some places that we used to live years ago, and it's just crazy how it's still the prices are still really high, and I don't think it's going to last though. I think we could see a big correction in the next few years in real estate prices. Yeah, Steve Goodwin, 66 printed money. That's right. Yeah, I had mine a few days ago, the 66 pounds. Cicero always says, I heard you're Brazilian. Yeah, I was born in Brazil. I grew up in Brazil, and I have a Brazilian and Italian passport. But I've been in the UK since 1992. Haven't really lived in Brazil since the 80s. So, but there you go. Mario, I saw that high BP. He says, I saw from a geopolitical video that Truss was handpicked by the neocons and the military industrial complex as she was saying the right stuff. I agree. I mean, she was the foreign secretary in the UK when they pushed Russia really into this war with Ukraine. So yeah, she's definitely a neocon, but the way she moved with her chancellor, it kind of yeah, big miscalculation with the markets. And I'm not against tax cuts, but what they forgot to do is cut the size of government and cut spending, and they didn't do that. So I don't think the UK is out of the woods. It looks like now they want to get rid of her. And I would say it's unsustainable, even though I don't care much about politics because both sides are just as bad as the other. But I think what's going to happen is that they're going to try to get rid of her. And you can't really have another Tory government without, well, you need a new general election. And unfortunately, I think we're going to get another, the Labour Party. And I'm not saying the conservatives have been any good in the last 12 years or so, but yeah, a lot of uncertainty, dead ahead, I would say. Hi, Silver Task. Thank you for being a moderator, even though we've been quite lucky with the bots on live streams. Dan Cullen, do you think the BOE will pivot and lower rates if house prices tank? Well, right now they're talking tough. Andrew Bailey saying that they might even raise by more than 50 basis points, which wasn't that much the last time they raised rates. They're still, we've got inflation or running over north of 10%, and our base rate is just over 2%. So yeah, and it's interesting because on Friday, the bond market did well in the beginning of the day, and then it closed in a real bad way. And over the weekend, they've they've backtracked even more. The new chancellor said that they're going to raise taxes. They're going to delay the 1p tax cut. But I think a lot of the damage has been done already. I think foreign investors have lost faith and confidence in the UK in terms of putting their money here. People are seeing Britain more like Italy or Greece. That's what what a former deputy of the Bank of England said. It's not just me. BP, is silver drying up on your neck of the woods? Well, there's still silver, but the premium's really high. Yes, I've heard it's draining. Silver's been draining a lot in the COMEX and the LBMA, which is the London Bullion Market Association. But you can still find silver. Yes, in the UK, you've got, aside from the premium, you've got to pay the VAT. But yeah, I heard Andy Scheckman speaking with, I think it was the Silver Slayer, I think, where he's a pretty good channel. I hadn't heard of him, but apparently Andy Scheckman says that in the last 33 years, he's never seen so much shortage of, there's not much product and only a foreign silver coming like from the UK and things like that. Hi, Graham Hobbs. He says, welcome on board, Quasi. Today I went out to get something and I stopped at Starbucks to get a coffee. And they asked me, what's your name, please? And I said, Quasi. I like to joke around because I don't like to give my name. And I don't think the person even realized I was joking, but they wrote Quasi on the cup. Yeah, Calais. We'll look at that. Calais, my love. The gold standard bill. I think, like you said, it won't pass. So it's 9 o'clock. It's the official start to the live stream, I guess. The title today is "Move to Punish Saudi Arabia Will Be Another Nail in the Coffin of Petrodollar." I just thought I, cover something a little different than just the UK and the bond markets today, because I think it's quite significant, this story that's going on now in the US Congress. And it looks like the Democrats, they're pushing for punishing Saudi Arabia. And I think they don't realize how important it is for the dollar to have this fairly good relationship with Saudi Arabia to make sure that the petrodollar stays afloat. They don't realize that the petrodollar is really important, because all it means is that Saudi Arabia prices all its oil in dollars, and that leads to artificial demand for the dollar from every country around the world, because they have to buy oil in dollars. And I don't think these politicians realize that anyway. So Frank Brown says, thanks to you and Neil McCoy Ward, I advised my daughter to get a 10 years fixed rate mortgage at only $199 last November. So you've saved my daughter thousands of pounds. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Alex, have you spoken to Dr. Richard Werner? No, I know of him. And, he's got some interesting ideas, especially about decentralized banking. But one thing I don't really agree too much with his economics. He's more of he seems to be more of a government interfering economics idea. He's not a real free market economist. He is, of course, against centralized banking or central banking. I'm not sure even if he's against central banking, but he makes some good points about how in Germany, for example, the banking system is so decentralized, but it hasn't helped Germany. Germany is in the same trouble that we are in the UK or in the US. So even though I think it's a little bit unfair to criticize the Germans, because I think there's a concerted effort by the Americans and the British to bring down the German economy, because they don't want them strong and friendly with Russia. But no, I haven't spoken to him, Dr. Richard Werner. How's Billy? Well, he's doing really well. There he is, right here. There you go. He's asleep, but he's going to be 15 next year. Unfortunately, he lost his vision about a month, well, not a month, about almost a year ago. and he's slowing down. Mr. B, greetings to you. Nice to see you here. Echo, echo, I read Fiat Money Inflation in France. Thank you for the recommendation. I was disgusted at what happened. Do you use indoor golf range in the winter? Not really. I mean, sometimes I go to the range. You don't have to go indoor really. You can go covered outside range. I haven't played golf in a while because I've been busy, quite busy with the channel, and I went on holiday and I haven't been too well. So I was going to play today, but I decided not to because I wasn't 100%. Billy has a pension fund. Yeah, he's all into silver, Billy. That's his pension. Super Seamster, nice to see you. Wow, I saw your title and I had to tune in. Yeah, I'll show you why I thought about that title, because let's bring it up. Where's the story? I saw this article on Zero Hedge, and I thought it was important to show this because I think a lot of people don't realize how important having Saudi Arabia and the US cooperate and stick to this petrodollar idea, how important it is for America in terms of keeping the dollar relatively strong. And why is that? Well, you guys can go to my playlist. I have a list of playlists, and one of them is Bretton Woods and the petrodollar system. And basically, after Nixon closed the gold window on August 15th, 1971, the dollar didn't have any backing. And they had to find a way to create demand for the dollar because it was just a normal fiat currency like every other currency. And they came up with this idea of, especially Henry Kissinger and others, of basically telling the Saudis, we'll protect your kingdom and we'll provide you with arms and we'll help you build your infrastructure. But you have to promise us to only sell your oil in dollars. So that was the deal. And what that did, as Saudi Arabia is the biggest oil producer in the world, or one of the top, well, if not the top, and head of OPEC as well, what that meant is that oil, the Americans made sure that oil was going to be priced in dollars. And oil is such an important commodity that every country needs oil. So the only way that every country can buy oil is to build dollar reserves, and that creates demand for the dollar. And in my petrodollar live streams, not live streams, videos that I've been making for 5 years, and I did say, that the petrodollar was on its way out, and I did say that it turns like a super tanker because the dollar is still important, of course, but I could see like a few years ago, like in the Chinese were building exchanges to trade oil in yuan, gold in yuan, commodities exchange there, and they're doing bilateral deals with the Russians and everything. They were preparing, and I think we're right almost there. So this kind of news here, Democrats moved to transfer air defense system from Saudis to Ukraine as punishment. So reading this made me, it made me realize this is really important because this guy here, Senator Chris Murphy, he doesn't realize how important it is that they maintain a good relationship with Saudi Arabia. And that's why I think they're going to do the wrong thing. They want to punish Saudi Arabia for, the fact that they raised cut production by 2 million, OPEC plus. And they're also, I think the Biden administration had already kind of punished Saudi Arabia quite a bit. So I don't think this is going to help. Am I defending Saudi Arabia? No, I'm just telling things like they are, and I think this could be accelerate the move away from the dollar for Saudi Arabia. Does it mean that Saudi Arabia doesn't want to have a relationship with the U.S.? No, because I think they still want to have some kind of relationship. It's more the Americans that are pushing this, and I think it's quite dangerous in terms of the dollar, because there will be a lot less demand for the dollar. We're already seeing interest rates go up in the U.S. We're seeing the global South trying to get rid of dollars, and this is only going to accelerate it, I think. Robert Kennedy says, is Kissinger in hospice yet? I don't know. Actually, the last few comments, the last few months that he's made in relationship to the Ukraine actually has changed my mind slightly about the guy, because he's actually said months ago that the West should negotiate with Putin, and that Ukraine should give up, the Eastern territories. So in that sense, he's actually become a lot less of a warmonger in his older age. I'm not saying I defend what he did in the past, but I agree with him on what he said. Echo says, who saw the pension fund LDI coming? I mean, I'd never heard of LDI, which is liability driven investments, but I've always known, well, not always, since the last 12 years, that pensions have a problem because they promise like 7 or 8% income for their people on their pension programs. And with interest rates near zero, I knew that was going to be a problem. But the way it evolved, it was difficult to say and difficult to know when it was going to happen. And I'd never heard of LDI, though, which is the way they leverage themselves to try to give an extra return. But I'm not surprised that it happened. Matt Bittner, how well will Saudi Arabia's military stand up against Iran in their war in Yemen without U.S. military aid? Well, I think I might have an answer for you. It's from last year. And I remember covering this. I'm not going to bring the article up. So there you go. This is from August 23rd, 2021. Saudi Deputy Minister of Defense signs military cooperation agreement between the kingdom and Russia. So that's the other article I actually wanted to show you guys. Thank you for that question. Saudi Deputy Minister of Defense Khalid bin Salman said on Twitter on Tuesday that the kingdom and Russia signed an agreement aimed at developing areas of joint military cooperation between the two countries. Yeah, this was out last year. So I think, as I said, not sure the Democrats in Congress know about this and how important this is. So I think they can get help from other countries. I don't think America has a monopoly on military technology. So there you go. America and the UK economy go up again? I'm not too sure about it because, Liz Truss was trying. She said all she was caring about before she sacked Kwasi was growth, which is a good thing. But she forgot that you need to cut the size of government. Maybe she was going to cut regulations, but all that's gone out the window now. And what they're going to do is they're going to really come back with more, they call it, what's the word again? Austerity. They in 2010, they had the same mantra, the conservative government, austerity. and they did anything but austerity because the national debt kept going up, deficit spending kept going up. So I'm not too encouraged for the UK economy, mainly because interest rates are going to continue to rise for at least another year before they maybe correct down. And I think we're in a bear market in bonds, a secular bear market in bonds that is going to continue for the next few decades, actually. So I'm not encouraged by that. So there you go. UK CPI out on Wednesday. Yeah, watch RPI as well, because the CPI is being doctored already. You know, they've changed the methodology. So there you go. Stacy 187. What would the ramification be to the Saudi royals if it unpegs from the dollar? I'm from a Gulf state and my currency is pegged to the dollar as well. I'm not sure if they will unpeg from the dollar, but if they do, they probably peg to other currencies like the yuan and maybe the ruble. I think 25% of their oil exports go to China. So there you go. I think it could affect other currencies in the area, other Gulf state currencies. Silver tax, a large number of entrepreneurs owning limited companies will leave the UK if they put corporation tax up to 25%. Well, it looks like they are going to put it up to 25%. Yeah, PZP. Yeah, there's these crazy people. They're protesting against oil, petroleum, climate change. It's really crazy. They're blocking roads. They're vandalizing works of arts. They're going into supermarkets or fancy supermarkets and dipping milk all over the place. It's just crazy. I mean, it just goes to show how society, when you destroy the money or the currency, the whole of society becomes unhinged. I think this is just a symptom of that. Nameless is 100-ounce bars for the practical for the average Joe. 100-ounce bars of what? Gold or silver? I mean, I assume it's silver. I mean, if you're only going to buy 100 ounces of silver, I would buy coins. But if you have like 1,000 ounces, I'm not, you could have a 100-ounce bar and the rest in coins. Yeah, it all depends. Yeah, the BRICS reserve currency is something that I've covered before, and I think I have an article here as well. Where is it? Yes, this one here about the petrodollar and the BRICS. Let's share it. Here we go. So there we go. This is from March this year. Petrodollar cracks. Saudi Arabia considers accepting yuan for Chinese oil sales. So yeah, so that's why I think this story going on in Congress now is really significant. It will just push Saudi Arabia into, they might still sell dollars, of course, sell oil in dollars, but not as much. And that will be less demand for dollars. They might decide to start selling to Russia, to China for yuan. So there you go. Petrodollar cracks. Saudi Arabia considers accepting yuan for Chinese oil sales. So you see here, one of the core staples of the past 40 years, an anchor propping up the dollar's reserve status, was a global financial system based on the petrodollar. This was a world in which oil producers would sell their product to the US and the rest of the world for dollars, and which would then recycle the proceeds in dollar-denominated assets, and while investing in dollar-denominated markets, explicitly prop up the US dollar as the world reserve currency, and in the process backstop the standing of the US dollar as the world's undisputed financial superpower. So it says here, those days are coming to an end, and I agree. So I think it talks here about how much, yeah, here we go. China buys more than 25% of the oil that Saudi Arabia exports, and if priced in yuan, those sales would boost the standing of China's currency and set the Chinese currency on a path to becoming a global petro-yuan reserve currency. So there you go. So Matt Bittner, when do you think Russia is going to launch a new offensive? I don't really know. I'm not a fly on the wall of Putin's security apparatus, so I don't know. BP, I think in a few years' time, the next move for banks would be to call in the loans as price corrections would trigger the threshold in relations to loans, asset values. I would say in the next few weeks, BP, I think the banks are already in trouble. We're seeing the Fed has sent $6 billion, swapped $6 billion to the Swiss National Bank. That's probably because of trouble in the Credit Suisse derivatives book. So this is going to happen a lot sooner than a few years, and it could be happening as we speak, BP. Normal norm, high normal norm. Buy-to-let mortgages will be in trouble. Yes, I was reading about the UK mortgage market, that nationally there's a lot of people that are going to come up now for their mortgage is going to expire and they're going to have to roll it over, and it's on average going to cost them more than £5,000 a year. And in London, it's going to cost like on average 8,000 a year. That's quite a big chunk of people's disposable income. And that's if rates stay where they are right now. And interest rates have been rising very quickly. And when I talk about interest rates, I mean in the bond market. It's the Bank of England that has been behind the curve. And I would say that they're blaming the mini budget for the current crisis that we're under and the collapse of the pound. They're blaming Kwasi Kwarteng, but I kind of also blame the Bank of England because they've dragged their feet because we've got double-digit inflation, and up until recently, interest rates were still below 2%, while the bond market or the gilt market is being leading the way. So I think it's a little bit unfair to blame it all on Kwasi Kwarteng, even though I think he should have also focused on cutting the size of government. And we already saw some industrial production, manufacturing, and GDP data from the UK last week, already showing that we're probably entering a recession. And if the housing market goes south, and I think that's a big probability, the UK economy will go south with it because it's such an important part of keeping the perception of wealth, having a 2 million pound house that's that was probably worth 800,000 6 years ago. People think they're wealthy and they spend on the back of that. Endurorama. Mario, with the cracks starting in the banking system, UK and Japan, which risk do you see setting off the collapse? Well, it has to be the banks, of course. Like you said, the banking system. It's because the banks, they hold a lot of government bonds. They hold a lot of mortgage paper. So yeah, it's all intertwined. The pension system as well. We're seeing that is highly leveraged. Who was lending the people running the pensions, the leverage game, LDI? The banks were. The banks are all part. The banks are at the heart of it. Matt Bittner, do you ever listen to Peter Zahan? Never heard of him, Matt. Sorry, never heard of the guy. James Bond, yeah, the Fed. I think they swapped 3.1 billion to the Swiss National Bank. I think the total is 6.2. We can safely say that it's probably for Credit Suisse, though. What happens in the currency swap? Well, the Swiss National Bank provides 6 billion to the Fed, and the Fed gives the Swiss National Bank $6 billion. It's 1-to-1 because they're almost at parity, and it's done off balance sheet. That's not going to show up in the Fed's balance sheet because it's a derivative. It's also leverage. It's a mess. I think financial derivatives need to be banned because they're at the heart of all our financial troubles, all the leverage. And I think Jim Rickards agrees with me. He also thinks that financial derivatives, interest rate swaps, and all the OTC derivatives, it's just something that is not necessary. It's not socially, it doesn't do anything for society. It enriches a few thousand bankers, hedge funds, and not that all hedge funds leverage, but it enriches very few people at the expense of billions of people, I would say. Norm, Greg Hunter Webb's good interview. Catherine Nosifin says Fed will defend US dollar at all costs. Well, it's not really a US dollar, is it, that they're defending? They're defending a debt instrument. The real dollar is a silver coin or a gold coin. So they're defending the Federal Reserve note. I'm not sure they'll succeed, though, because the thing with it is that they let inflation run riot. Well, they create the inflation, the Fed and the Treasury, and now they're trying to put it back in the toothpaste tube. It's like, I think it was a German central banker, Hans Otto Pohl. He said that inflation is like squeezing toothpaste out of a tube, and it's really hard to put it back in. So I'm not sure the Fed will succeed in saving the dollar, really, or whatever they call the dollar. It's not really anything. It's a I owe you nothing. So what is there to defend? Nothing. Bob Hunter, thank you for your super chat. Samaj Dis, bring back Glass-Steagall. Yeah, I think Glass-Steagall was a good regulation. It basically separated investment banking from commercial banking, and it was repealed '99 under the Clinton administration. Wall Street, of course, loved it because they could basically leverage their speculation on the back of the taxpayer. And is it any surprise that by 07, 08, the whole system imploded? So they have a lot of power, lobby in Washington, D.C., the big banks. And I think unless there's another huge banking crisis, it will be very tough to repeal that because they own Washington, D.C., the Wall Street banks. BP says, Mario, I don't think even stackers understand how valuable silver is. Historically, plebs didn't see gold, silver mainly for commerce, daily purchases, and barter were none done in copper and bronze. You're probably right. You're probably right. Silver Silvertas says silver coins and gold Britannia's supply are drying up. Mr. B says hit the like buttons, follow and subscribe. Yeah, thank you, Mr. B. Yeah, I think we're up to 72,000 subscribers, which is good. Yeah, thank you guys. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. Matt Bittner, war, terrorism, and intimidation will probably be used to maintain the dollar status. I'm not sure, the Soviets had what people thought was an intractable empire, and it just collapsed into itself with not a with very yeah. I remember it really well in the late 80s, early 90s. Everything unraveled. The Iron Curtain collapsed. The Berlin Wall fell. And then the Soviet Union just melted down, and the whole Soviet Union broke up. And 2 years or 3 years before, it seemed like it monolithic and would never crumble. And I think the same thing is happening now to the West. And I think the UK is like a big part of this collapse, and it's starting here because we've had this special relationship, Anglo-American empire, and I think America will be next, and the dollar will go, maybe not disappear, but it will lose a lot of power. I like it, tacos. Mary suggesting we ban derivatives. Tell people when you talk to that Mario suggested this. Need more people to understand. Yeah, derivatives are just. I think it was Professor Antel Fekete. He's passed on, unfortunately. He had something called the Gold Standard University. He was an Austrian school proponent. And he said that derivatives, financial derivatives, are used to keep the fiat system going, to manipulate it, and it doesn't create any value. All it's done is create crises. It created the subprime crisis in 2007, 8, 9. It's created the LDI crisis now in the UK. Yeah, so it's not. The only reason it's used is that central banks and governments manipulate the market so much that it creates distortions. And in order for investors to overcome the distortions and overcome the fact that there isn't enough real rate of return in things, they have to leverage. And it's all part of this fiat game. Stephen Ross Holmes, thank you for your super chat. I understand that physical is worth more than paper and even more than Sprott's PM Trust, but why is Sprott less than paper spot pot when it is physical? Well, I think people have more confidence in Sprott that uh, because uh, they expect Sprott PSLV, I think it's called, to deliver if you do ask. I've never had PSLV, but yeah, what people mean by paper is that there's a counterparty between your silver and um, yeah, between you and your silver. Um, but I recently met someone who told me that they're thinking about buying like a monster box of silver eagles because the premium is so high. And it might sound a bit counterintuitive, but this person said there must be something to it why the premium is so high. And this person told me I did buy PSLV because for me it was easier because I work, I'm at work all the time and I couldn't get out to buy the monster box. But I think more and more people are going to move to having physical, and yeah, so that's the way I see it. Thank you for your super chat. What is your opinion on kinesis in the sense of reliability? I have no opinion on kinesis. I've never used it. And well, actually, I do have an opinion on it. I just I don't understand how they pay people like extra for just keeping their silver or gold. The only way they can do that is by taking from new depositors, and I just don't like that. But I can't say anything else because I've never used it. But I don't plan to use Kinesis money or whatever it's called. I prefer buying my coins and bars of silver and a bit of gold. So there you go. But it could be fine, Kinesis. I just don't like basically if you're paying someone an interest, it means you're lending the silver or the gold. That's why I don't like it. Uh, Alex says futures were designed to support farming. Yeah, I mean, I said financial derivatives I'm against. I'm not against commodity derivatives. Yeah, those those popped up in the mid 1800s, like in the Midwest of the U.S., and I don't have a problem with that. It's to fight the seasonal effects on prices and to help farmers also with liquidity to lock in prices so that their costs, they know where their costs are and their profits are. Don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is the financial derivatives like interest rate currencies, all those swaps. It's all a casino. That's all it is. Excuse me. Thousand silver. Will the midterm elections take place? To be honest, and I'm not being disrespectful, I couldn't care less really about the midterms. And I couldn't care less about any elections because I think politics is a huge distraction. Yeah, and people still fall for it. You got to look after yourself. And yeah, I think if people forgot about politics and never voted anymore, the whole system would implode. We wouldn't have politicians. So there you go. It's like if you want to take away the power from the bankers, you stop putting as much money with them as possible. Take out all your money. Keep stacking. And it's the same with politics. Don't give them your yeah. Don't give them. How can I say? credibility, or yeah, don't, that's the way I look at it. Matt Bittner, how much do you think will be shaved off Russian GDP as a result of Nord Stream? I couldn't tell you. I don't follow the Russian economy, and I don't even follow that much. It's not the kind of calculation I'm worried about, what countries' GDPs are going to do, let alone the Russian. But I think the Russian economy is doing very well. I think they've rebuilt $300 billion or more in reserves already, ever since the West like froze 300 billion. Froze is like a euphemism. So I think they're doing very well. And I think they've got like other sources of income. They built a gas pipeline to China a few years ago. So I think they're just going to increase their sales to China. They're going to sell gas also through the southern Europe and Turkey. It's called Turk Stream. But Putin has said that he's willing to get it fixed, Nord Stream 2. I think eventually Europe is going to succumb to pressure and tell the Americans and NATO, look, we don't want this anymore. Or else we're gonna destroy our economies. But we're not there yet. It looks like the Europeans are still committing economic suicide for now. Indigo Traveler made a great video of South Sudan and what the elites have in store for us all. Yeah, I like Indigo Traveler. And thank you, Bob Hunter, for your super chat. I've been following him recently. He's been in Haiti. And I mean, if you want to watch a video to make you feel good about where you live, you watch Indigo Traveler in Haiti. I mean, those people, that country is a great shame what's going on there. Take a sip of my water. LG, will Swiss central bank sell their US stocks? I think they already have been selling their US stocks. Yeah, and it's weird because I think the biggest shareholder in the Swiss National Bank is a German investor. The Swiss National Bank is private, but it's also owned by I think it's 26 cantons, and also by the federal government. So it's like a private public hybrid. So technically the Swiss National Bank could go bankrupt if we see the NASDAQ correct even lower, because the Swiss National Bank has been known to buy a lot of the FANG stocks. It would be funny to see the Swiss National Bank go bust, actually. I think that would be great. BP, Mario, would you say US Eagles would be viewed like Nazi gold or gold Krugs during apartheid in US collapse? No, not really. Not really. I don't see the comparison, and I don't see what's wrong with gold Krugerrands. I don't think so. The Jughead, thank you for your super chat. Evening, Mary, you're correct. I remember back in 1973 when the late King Faisal smacked the crap out of the US dollar. The same will happen again. Yeah, and I recommend the Energy Non-Crisis book written by Lindsay Williams. And he talks about that energy crisis in the 70s. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye. The Energy Non-Crisis. I think you might be able to find this book still, but I highly recommend it. Lindsay Williams. Yeah, King Faisal was killed by one of his nephews, I think, in 1975. That was quite a shock. I remember it. AL Mario, do you recommend Miles Franklin for a UK citizen? Um, I don't. Yeah, I recommend it, Miles Franklin. I have an affiliation now with Miles Franklin, but I think for you being a UK citizen, if you're living in the UK, it's easier to buy from a UK dealer. But if you're living in the US, yes, I would recommend it. And my referral there is Billy, which is that guy over, the guy on the sofa right there. But if you live in the UK, it's probably much easier to buy from a dealer here. I have an affiliation, of course, with Gold Investments. The referral there is Monaco 64. Tesco warns public faces hardship in wake of interest rate rises. Tesco. Tesco is a, oh, okay. I mean, I thought Tesco is a supermarket. What do they know about interest rates? But anyway, but I agree with them though. But we've been warning about this for years that interest rates are going to rise. Do you think any insights on why Putin is looking to set up a big gas hub through Turkey? Well, because he can't trust, no, because it's difficult to defend Nord Stream 2. That's why it's easier to defend maybe the pipeline, the Turk Stream pipeline. And yes, it looks like I watched the Duran today, and I think my wife watched it too. And it looks like Putin and Erdogan are are forming some kind of alliance. So and I can understand why. The Jughead has another question, and thank you again for your super chat. I've been buying silver coins and ingots since 2021. Do you think it's still a good idea to invest in commodity, gold and silver stocks? Love and respect from your Nigerian brother over here in the UK. The Jughead, thank you. Yes, I'm still sticking to my miners, gold and silver miners, and also commodity stocks. Yes, they like every other asset class this year, they've gotten hit hard. But I'm in it for the long haul, and I think they will do well in the long term. Just try to cost average them. Don't buy it all at once. And yeah, maybe look at Petrobras. And this is not advice. This is what I have. PBR, ADR. They have a good dividend, and it's the Brazilian oil company. They're partly state owned, but they're also in the stock exchange. BP, there was a video on Europeans are preparing for an energy shortage by buying Chinese-made electric blankets. Get some good quality blankets for winter. Turkey is in NATO, Norman Liu. Turkey is part of NATO. It's not part of the EU. Dean, Mary, what is a large gold colored coin on your bookshelf? Well, it's a Krugerrand paperweight. It's not real gold. You can get one here. Let me move the microphone a bit. There you go. You can see it now. Can you see it better? There you go. It's a Krugerrand paperweight. If you're in the UK or anywhere, Gold Investments has some. I think it costs maybe £30, or maybe it could be less. Goldinvestments.co.uk, they have those Krugerrand paperweights. It's not real gold though. Toonie Times, what do you think about Roger Waters' Ukraine thing? I haven't really followed that. He's a musician, isn't he? Uh, I think he's has a contrarian view, pretty much probably like me, from what I think I know. But I was listening to Dr. Mark Faber, who I've had on the channel a couple of times, and I think it was Patrick Vieira from SB Bullion, or I think he's in Singapore, and he interviewed him recently. And Mark Faber said what I think as well, that the Americans pushed Americans, especially NATO, pushed Russia to do what they have done in the Ukraine, because they don't want to keep Europe strong, and they don't want Germany to be friendly with Russia. So that's the way I feel about it. A super seamster, I thought it was real gold until you told me back some time ago. Yeah. Sarah Brown, Roger Waters, Pink Floyd. Yeah, that's right. I mean, my wife always jokes because I'm not really too much into rock and roll. And a lot of times I say, who is this guy? Like not Rogers Waters. And he said, oh, yeah. And she's not surprised because I'm a bit clueless about rock and roll. I was never really that much into it. I like music, but a lot of times I don't know who's playing the music or singing and the members of the group. Thomas Moran, do you think the gilt yield will rise tomorrow? Well, they rose on Friday, late on Friday. There's a good chance that they might rise, even though over the weekend, the new chancellor and everyone, they try to backtrack. Bailey's come out and said he might have to raise rates more than before. So they might succeed a little bit, but I think the tendency is for higher yields. The key level in the 10-year, I think, is going to be around 475 right now. And in the 30-year is going to be about 5.125, which is 5.125. So keep an eye on those two levels. Trials of London. I have a 1 kilo copper bar on the shelf. If you can see here, there you go, right there. So 1 kilo copper bar, but that's it. And it's not worth much in terms of monetary value. But no, mostly it's gold and silver. Some people like platinum, but I just never really, I always stuck to gold and silver because I see them as monetary metals. Doesn't mean to say that platinum is no good. The Jughead, thank you for your super chat. It says, you're correct, Monaco 64. Faisal was killed by his nephew. And late, great Murtala Muhammad was also killed in 75. They both had plans to work on future plans together. Yeah, and also the what was his name? The Shah of Iran. he was ruffling feathers in the West, and they got rid of him through the Iranian Revolution of 1979 as well. He was getting tired. There's a really good interview if you Google Shah of Iran 1974 or 75 interview with the BBC. And I think the Americans and the British also fomented that revolution in Iran to get rid of the Shah. because I think they were going to work together with the Saudis and maybe even the Nigerians. Yeah. So SoCal Silver, Mario, gold doing very well against every fiat currency except the dollar. This will change. Yeah, I was looking at some numbers to this weekend. For example, the S&P is down about 25% this year. NASDAQ is down about 34. The TLT, which is the ETF on long-term treasury bonds, that's down 32%. So the treasury bonds are down more than the S&P, which is unheard of. And gold in dollars is down 10%. So actually, gold has outperformed the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ is performed treasury bonds. Yes, the dollar has performed better than gold, and also in pounds, for example, even though we've come off from the highs we saw on the day that the pound collapsed to like 103, we're still up 10% in pounds. So I think you're right, SoCal Silver. Yeah, the dollar is going to go the same way. The thing about the dollar is that it's still at the head of the system, and when the periphery starts debasing, it does it through against the dollar. But eventually, when the dollar debases, it has to do it through gold and silver. Stacy, I think you're referring to Operation Ajax, where they overthrew. No, I'm not referring to Mossadegh in 1953. I'm referring to the Shah of Iran in 1979. I think that was orchestrated by the British and the Americans as well. So there you go. Because I think the Shah of Iran wanted to, apparently he was involved with the Hunt brothers, according to Lindsay Williams, and they're trying to start like a world silver currency, and that was part of the Hunt brothers, and the Hunt brothers were working with a lot of Saudi investors. They were not just buying silver for themselves; they were buying silver for other investors abroad. So no, I'm not referring to Mossadegh in 1953. I'm referring to the Shah of Iran in 1979. So we got 3 minutes to go. Echo, echo, can we reach peace by allowing Russia to put nukes in Canada and USA to put nukes in Ukraine like they were originally tried to before? Yeah, that's an interesting point there. Yeah, ex Stacy, the other thing as well, Jim Rickards was part of that. He's talked about it, that he was actually sent to Tehran for the CIA to keep yeah, that they kept those hostages there for 400 days or so in the American embassy. And who did that hurt? Well, it hurt Jimmy Carter. So on the day of Ronald Reagan's inauguration, what happened? Well, they freed the hostages. So there you go. The Shah, no, the Shah, no, the Shah is not Khomeini. Shah Reza Pahlavi. He was the Shah of Iran, like the king. Khomeini came after the Shah. Khomeini is not a Shah. He was against the Shah. He was in exile in Paris, and they brought him back from Paris. BP, why does the US and UK engage in war over commerce to get their oil in the Middle East when trading it would be more profitable and sustainable? I think it's all about having control. It's all about making sure that the Middle East sell their oil in dollars, because if they don't, the dollar and the pound is already showing that it's like uh, a third world currency, and the U.S. will go the same way because it's not backed by anything. Oh, Silver Task, yeah, thanks for all the questions, everyone. This is part of the live stream, all your questions, and hopefully I've answered as well as I can, and they've my answers have helped you. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna wish you all a great rest of the day wherever you may be in the world, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. And also, if you like my live streams and my videos but haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. So take care.